Welcome back to WZ Tales. Today's story follows a boyfriend whose girlfriend slowly lets another man decide who belongs in her life. As you listen, ask yourself when you would have walked away. My girlfriend said, "You're not invited, it'd be weird." I replied, "I'll build my own crowd." Then I opened the rooftop studio, let word spread across Austin, watched her friends drift over one by one, and had no idea that night would rewrite everything and show me who she'd really chosen. About 4 months ago, my girlfriend Janice's old college best friend, Theo, moved to Austin from Seattle. Theo is one of those very charming people. Big personality, tons of confidence, starting a podcast and talking like he is about to build a whole media empire. Janice works in marketing and social media, so she jumped in to help him with branding, strategy, launch planning, all of it. At first, that made sense to me. It was her field, and networking is a big part of her job. But over the next few months, she started spending a lot of time with Theo. I am talking multiple nights a week, late work sessions, strategy meetings, networking events for his podcast. I did not like it, but I did not want to be the jealous boyfriend who cannot handle his girlfriend having male friends, so I swallowed it and tried to be supportive. Looking back, this was the first red flag I ignored. When you feel uneasy for weeks, that feeling usually has a reason. About 3 weeks ago, Theo was getting ready for his big rebrand and podcast launch party. It was supposed to be this big industry mixer night. I assumed I would go with Janice. She is my girlfriend. This is a big night for her best friend. It seemed obvious. Instead, she said very casually, "I'm going to Theo's launch party on Saturday. It's all industry people. You're not invited. It'd be weird." I thought I misheard her. She explained that I would not know anyone. I do not like networking. I would not fit the vibe. She said it like she was explaining why I should not come to her dental cleaning. I just said, "Have fun then." She looked relieved that I did not argue. When a partner tells you that you do not fit the vibe of their life, that is not a small comment. That is them telling you how they rank you. Now, here is where my part comes in. I work at a studio that had just finished building this massive rooftop space for music video shoots. My boss told us weeks earlier that we could use it to test the acoustics before it officially opened. I had been thinking about inviting some people to check it out, but I had not set anything up yet. After Janice told me I was not invited to Theo's party, I decided I was not going to sit at home alone that night while she dressed up for another man's event. So I set it up. I sent a casual invite to about 40 people. Coworkers, DJ friends, a few musicians I work with. I said, "Come check out this rooftop, bring some drinks, we'll play some music." I did not post anything on social media. I did not tell anyone to keep it secret either. It was just a chill sound test that turned into a hangout. On the day of both events, about an hour before she left, Janice texted me, "Theo says tonight is super private, don't make it weird." I put my phone down and went back to setting up speakers. Sometimes "don't make it weird" really means "don't make me feel guilty." That is worth paying attention to. The rooftop ended up being a lot more packed than I expected. Austin's creative scene is tight. Word travels fast. One DJ brought his girlfriend, who does TikTok content, and she posted a short video of the sunset over the skyline with some live acoustic music in the background. That video went semi-viral locally. People were tagging friends, asking where it was, saying they were coming through. Around 9 p.m., I started noticing faces from Janice's friend group. I had not invited them. They were friendly, asking about the space, taking photos, vibing with the musicians. I later found out Theo's party was in a cramped bar downtown. It was hot, stuffy, and the audio for his podcast preview kept cutting out. Meanwhile, people were hearing about this open rooftop with live music and an amazing view. People started leaving Theo's event and coming to mine. Around 10 p.m., Janice walked onto the rooftop. She looked around at the crowd, then came straight over to me. She was angry. "So this is why half the guest list left Theo's party. You hosted a competing event." I told her the truth. This was not a competing event. I had access to the rooftop for weeks. I planned it as a sound test. People showed up because they wanted to. I did not promote it or tell anyone to leave Theo's party. She said I was being fake, that I knew exactly what I was doing, that this was petty revenge for not being invited. While we were talking, my phone rang. It was Theo. "Man, could you shut it down? You're pulling my crowd, not cool." I stayed calm and said, "If your event is good, people stay. If it's not, that's on you." Janice heard every word. She looked like she wanted to argue, but she did not know how to spin it. She left about 20 minutes later without saying goodbye. She has been cold ever since, telling me I embarrassed her and undermined her friend's big night. Some of her friends who came to the rooftop texted me later. They said they had a great time and that Theo's party was kind of a dud anyway. I genuinely had not set out to sabotage anything. But I also did not stop people from coming over once the word spread. At this point in the story, ask yourself what you would have done. Stayed home to keep the peace or gone ahead and enjoyed your own night? A few days later we talked. Janice was still angry. She said I made Theo look bad and by extension her. She acted like his launch night had been this huge success until my rival party pulled everyone away. But that is not what other people told me. I got texts from people who were actually there from the start. They said Theo's event was rough from minute one. The venue was too small. It was hot and crowded. The audio kept cutting out. One person told me Theo seemed more focused on hanging on Janice than talking to industry people. The DJ's girlfriend sent me a screenshot of her TikTok analytics. That rooftop clip got over 50,000 views in the Austin area that night. People flooded the comments asking where it was. It basically became an accidental promo for my studio. Then I got a message from one of Janice's work friends. I had met him maybe twice. He wrote something like, "Hey man, just heads up. Theo was making comments about Janice all night, even before people left, saying she deserves someone who matches her ambition, that she needs a partner at her level. He got annoyed when people mentioned she had a boyfriend. Thought you should know." I read that message over and over. I showed it to a buddy who had helped me set up for the rooftop. He said, "Dude, you already knew this guy was into her, right?" Honestly, I had not wanted to see it. I wanted to believe Janice when she said it was just work. This is a common trap. We tell ourselves we are being secure when really we are ignoring clear signals. 2 days later, I brought it up to Janice. Not in an angry way. I just said, "Someone told me Theo was making comments about you that sounded like he sees you as more than a friend." She got defensive right away. She said whoever told me that was stirring drama. She said Theo is just expressive and supportive, and that I do not understand how people in marketing and creative industries talk. I asked if Theo had ever said anything that crossed a line. She said, "No, never," and told me I was being paranoid. But here is what stuck with me. She never asked who told me. She did not ask what Theo said word for word. She did not seem even a little curious. She just defended him. That is often a sign. When someone cares more about protecting a third person than about how that person makes you feel, you are not really on their team. We argued. She kept circling back to how I had humiliated Theo by drawing people away from his party because I was jealous. I kept trying to talk about the real issue, that she excluded me from something important because another man told her it would be better if I was not there. She said I was making everything about me, that the night was supposed to be about supporting Theo's launch, not about our relationship. And she was right about one thing. The night was not supposed to be about us, but she had still made a choice to leave me out. After that, things got weird. She stayed at her place more. I stayed at mine. Our texts were surface level, no real conversations. Meanwhile, that viral rooftop video reached the artist whose music video we were about to shoot there. She saw it, loved the space, and reached out to the studio. Long story short, she decided to record her entire next album at our spot. She has a real following, and having her name attached to the studio is a huge deal for us. My boss offered me the lead audio engineer role on the project. More money, more creative control, and a massive step for my career. I was excited. I thought maybe this could be something positive Janice and I could share. She loves career wins. When I told her, her response was, "That's great. Guess you'll be too busy for me anyway." When I asked what she meant, she said, "You're building all this momentum and I'm supposed to just wait around while you prioritize work. That's what you're mad at me for doing with Theo." That hit me hard. The false comparison was wild. I was not spending 4 nights a week with another woman, telling my girlfriend she was not invited to my work events because she did not fit the vibe. I was taking a job at my own workplace. Sometimes people speed past the part where they excluded you and jump straight to accusing you of doing the same thing. That is a way to avoid looking in the mirror. A lot of people on Reddit later told me this was not really about the party. It was about respect, about her treating me like an accessory she could leave at home whenever it did not suit her image. The more time passed, the more I agreed. About 10 days later, things finally broke. Janice had been telling our mutual friends that I had sabotaged Theo's launch night, that I deliberately planned a rival event to make him look bad, that I was jealous of their friendship and could not handle her having a professional life without me. The thing is, I had receipts. I had texts with my boss from a month before about using the rooftop for a sound test. The opportunity was in place before I even knew the date of Theo's party. Yes, I turned it into an actual gathering after I learned about his event, but the date and access were already set. When a couple of her friends asked me directly, I showed them the messages. Most of them backed off right away and admitted Theo's party just was not that great. Janice would not let it go. She said even if the opportunity existed before, I made it into a party knowing it conflicted with Theo's launch. She said a good partner would have canceled and gone to support his big night instead. I asked her, would Theo cancel something for me? She did not answer. At the same time, I was starting the album project. The artist was amazing to work with. We did long days at the studio, but it was the kind of work that fills you up. One night after a session, I checked my phone and saw 6 texts from Janice. The first 5 were all about how I was checked out, how I was punishing her by throwing myself into work. The 6th said, "We need to talk tonight." I was exhausted, but I went to her place. She was upset, crying a little, saying she felt like she was losing me, that ever since the rooftop night I had been distant and cold. That I was punishing her. I told her I was not punishing her. I was just doing my job and things were going well. Then she said something that made my stomach drop. "Theo thinks you're trying to make me choose between my career network and my relationship." I just stared at her. Theo thinks. Why is Theo analyzing our relationship like he is our therapist? She quickly said it was normal. She talks to her friends about relationships. I talk to mine. I said, "Yeah, but my friends are not trying to get me to leave you." She had told me before that I was paranoid, that Theo had never said anything like that. So I asked her directly, "Did Theo ever say I'm not a good fit for your career? That you'd be better off without me?" She went silent, not the shocked "how could you say that" silence. The "I have been caught" silence. I pressed her. Yes or no, did he say that? She finally admitted it in a roundabout way. She said Theo had mentioned that dating someone outside the industry can be limiting. That the most successful people in marketing and entertainment usually partner with people who understand that world. That I seemed nice, but maybe not ambitious enough for where she was headed. And then she told me something else. Theo had said it might throw off the chemistry of the guest list if I came to the launch party. He told her he needed her accessible for networking. Accessible for networking. That phrase stuck in my head. It sounded less like friend and more like asset. Sometimes you hear one word that suddenly makes the whole picture clear. I asked when he said all of this. She said it was maybe a month before his launch party, right around when she started acting strange about including me in her plans. I asked if that was why she did not invite me. She said no, it was her decision, but it was obvious his opinion weighed a lot. I told her I understood perfectly. I understood that she had let another man convince her I was not good enough, that she chose his approval over my dignity, that she excluded me from part of her life because it was more convenient for him. She said I was being dramatic. She said this was exactly why Theo thought I was not a good fit, because I could not separate professional strategy from personal insecurity. That was the moment I knew it was over. Not because she made one mistake, because she did not see anything wrong with it. I told her I was done. I said I needed a partner who chose me, even when someone else whispered in their ear that they should not. That if Theo got to decide who stayed in her life, I was not going to fight for my place there. She went back and forth between crying and anger. At one point she said, "If your stupid rooftop party hadn't overshadowed his launch, none of this would have blown up." That sentence told me everything I needed to know. She did not regret what she did. She regretted that people noticed. I left. We only spoke one more time to arrange for her to pick up some things she left at my place. It hurt, but I felt something else too. Relief. Like I had been holding my breath for months, waiting for her to choose me over whatever Theo was offering, and now I could finally exhale. The album project kept going well. The artist asked if I wanted to tour with her as her sound engineer next year. After thinking it over, I said yes. I moved most of my stuff into storage, sublet my apartment, and hit the road when the tour started. For the first time in a long time, my life felt open. About 3 months later, I was in Dallas for a show. After loadout, our tour manager took us to an industry mixer. Venue owners, sound techs, booking agents, people like that. I was talking to a woman who runs a podcast production company in Austin. She casually brought up Theo. "Oh, you're from Austin. Did you know Theo Brennan? He had that podcast launch a few months back." I said, "Yeah, I knew him." She made a face like she had just tasted something sour. She told me Theo's podcast lasted exactly 4 episodes before his sponsors pulled out. Apparently, the story about his messy launch night, the one where half his guests left early, got back to his investors. They started digging into his numbers and realized a lot of his social media following was bought. His industry connections were much weaker than he had claimed. The production company pulled their partnership. The sponsors left. The whole project fell apart by mid-October. I wish I could say I felt bad, but I mostly just felt confirmation of what I had already seen. Then she asked if I knew Janice. She'd been working with Theo on marketing, right? She left the fitness company. Theo was trying to bring her on full-time for the podcast network he was building, but she hesitated and said she should not gossip. I told her she did not need to tell me anything. It was not my business anymore. She kept going anyway. She said Janice had gone all in on Theo's vision. She quit her job at the fitness company about 3 weeks after the launch party. She apparently burned some bridges on the way out, talking about how she was moving on to bigger things. Then, before Theo even told her the podcast was collapsing, he started courting someone else from a bigger firm in Houston for the exact role he had promised Janice. Janice found out through LinkedIn when that other woman posted about considering opportunities in Austin. By the time Theo's project officially collapsed, Janice could not get her old job back. They had already hired her replacement. Last the woman heard, Janice was doing freelance consulting, trying to rebuild, and seemed pretty lost. Theo had convinced her that I was holding her back, that he was her path forward, that choosing his world over me was a strategic move. The truth was simpler. He used her skills and time while it suited him, and when he saw a shinier option, he walked. Sometimes life gives people the same lesson they ignored, just with higher stakes. I am not going to pretend hearing all of this did nothing to me. Part of me felt vindicated. I had been right about him. She had paid a price for not seeing it. But mostly, I felt sad for her. She had picked a man who thought of her as accessible for networking over a partner who just wanted a seat at the table beside her. A day later, I got a text from one of Janice's friends, the same one who had once told me I deserved better. She said Janice had asked about me, wanted to know how I was doing. I told her to say I was good, working, and moving forward. The friend wrote back. She says she made a mistake. She should have seen what Theo was doing. I did not reply because this is what I realized. She did not make one mistake. She made a series of choices. She chose to believe Theo when he said I was not good enough. She chose to exclude me from parts of her life because it made networking easier. She chose to defend him when I raised reasonable concerns. She chose to blame me when those choices had consequences. The fact that Theo turned out to be even worse than I thought does not change what she chose about me. Now I am here, on tour, setting up soundcheck in a venue with acoustics so good I could stand in the empty room and just listen. After the show, some of us will get late-night tacos in Santa Fe. This is my life. It is not flashy or perfect, but it is mine. And nobody gets to tell me I am not ambitious enough, connected enough, or cool enough to be in my own future. Here are some lessons from this story. Lesson 1. When a partner says you do not fit the vibe of their world, listen. That is not about one event. That is about how they see you. Lesson 2. If someone outside your relationship has more influence over your place in it than you do, that is a problem. Lesson 3. Support for a partner's career should not require you to disappear from their life or stand in the shadows so they can seem more accessible. Lesson 4. Jealousy is not always the issue. Sometimes your discomfort is just your boundaries telling you the situation is disrespectful. Lesson 5. People do not just make mistakes. They make choices. When someone shows you that your dignity is negotiable, believe them and act accordingly. Lesson 6. Walking away from someone who does not choose you clears space for a life that actually fits you, even if it feels scary at first. What about you? At what point in this story would you have walked away? And have you ever watched a partner let someone else's opinion matter more than your relationship? Share your thoughts in the comments.